What's up, AfterBuzzers? We're back here at 13 Reasons Why After Show. We're talking about Season 3, Episode 10, The World Closing In. We're discussing Mrs. Baker's return, Tony's family. We finally found out the truth about that. And two grieving mothers finally meet. Stay tuned.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for joining us again. We're talking about episode 10, 13 Reasons Why After Show. I'm your boy, Danny Royce, joined by the beautiful Monica Ortega.
Hey, guys. What's up?
Yes,
Ooh,
yes. We are back. Yeah, it's quite the applause. I didn't get an applause, but it's okay. Thank you. There's mine. Thank you. It's been so long. It's nice seeing you all again.
Yes.
It's been a long time. All right, episode 10. Wow. Ooh. This there's a lot going on here. The Mrs. Baker episode, I like to call it. What was your overall thoughts about it?
Oh, man, there was a few, huge shockers in this one. It's so funny because we just talked about how episode 9 kind of closed everything up and no more questions. Episode 10 was like, drop a bomb, drop a bomb, drop a bomb. I loved it. Yeah, it was really cool to see. Yeah. And I just, again, love Kate Walsh.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, we got to see Kate Walsh more.
Well, and like we talked about before, seeing these characters after everything is kind of, after the bomb is dropped. I just said that. I don't know. After the dust has settled.
The dust, yeah.
Yes, that's what I was going for. But just to see what's happened to them in the time since and how they've changed. Right. So bringing her character back and seeing how she's dealing with the grief and what's been happening in her life. So I loved it. What did you think?
I really enjoyed it too.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Kate Walsh, but also just seeing. I mean, we got a lot more questions answered, especially with Tony and all that. So.
And more questions.
And more questions to ask. And this was like the episode where it's like, every episode has a blame on someone. This was Mrs. Baker's blame. Yeah. But I wasn't buying it. Nah, she couldn't do it.
I feel like if she did, she would have done it right away.
Oh, yeah.
Like, why would she come back a year later and do it?
Yeah. And she probably would have been a little smarter about it.
Yeah.
She seems like she would have been, put some stuff together. But I want to get into just talking about her right off the bat and her meetup with Jess, Tony, Bryce, and Clay. So let's talk about Jess first. How do you think that whole interaction went?
I loved it because I felt like she got to say all the things she would have said to Hannah surviving the assault. She kind of got to say them to Jess.
Yeah.
And see what had happened to Jess through all of this and see that she had grown and, taken a lot of good steps from everything that happened. I think it was a really nice moment for both of them.
Yeah. I definitely, I enjoyed that moment as well as she calling Jess, a fighter, like she's going off to war and she's still fighting, and then she likened to Hannah with her jacket and like, what war are you fighting today,
Yeah.
And it was nice where she had that moment of like a mother and daughter moment, and Jess kind of, she will never fill in Hannah's shoes, but for that moment it was just like, oh, we can relate.
Yeah.
For this, this moment.
I always think it must be so hard, when a parent loses a child, and then all the other friends that person had are out of their life too. Yeah. Because there's a whole age group thing that happens, and so when you lose your child, and then all of their friends are suddenly out of your life too, because nobody knows what to say or do anymore.
Right.
So it was probably really nice for her too to kind of go back and talk to Hannah's friends and see what had happened,
and definitely hard too, like just
hard too, for
to
sure.
Return back to that, you know what I mean? Like,
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, and so she's in New York now that we found out, and she's also divorced. I saw that coming, but and her ex-husband, I can't remember his name in the show. Do you remember?
Mr. Baker?
Yeah, we'll just call him Mr. Baker. But there's Olivia, and then I don't know his name. Yeah. But he replaces the lost family that family that he lost. Which, I mean, in your opinion, I mean, I've heard it both ways, but they're easier for the men to move on than mothers or than women.
I could see that.
Do you feel that?
Yeah, I think there's a connection with your mom that, and a mom with her child, that it's different.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine either person moving on, but you do hear a lot of stories where, you know, the husband has a new family very quickly.
Right.
And it's also his way of dealing with his grief.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's easier for him, but it's his way of dealing with his grief.
Yeah.
And I think for a mother, seeing another child is almost too hard.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I feel like there's not a lot of women that you hear of that would remarry into somebody that has kids already. They may have kids again with somebody else.
Right.
But it would be very difficult after losing a child to marry somebody that already has kids and watch their children.
Yeah. I mean, let us know your thoughts in the chat. I'm curious.
It's a really tough topic that I feel like nobody knows except the people that have actually gone through it.
The people who are going through it. Yeah, exactly. So we find out that Mrs. Baker made another stop. So she came in prior, right? Mm-hmm. Around homecoming, and then so she came back. She was summoned back for questioning. Yeah. During that time, she also met with Tony. Mm-hmm. And so we found out a few things about that situation.
That was heartbreaking.
Yes.
Absolutely heartbreaking. I did not even put those two together.
Right, me neither.
That him being at the trial led to his family being taken by ICE. Mm-hmm. And it shows how evil Bryce's family is, that they would go after his family.
Bryce's dad, more specifically.
Dad went after Tony's family and got them deported by ICE just from him testifying. Yeah. And like he said, he testified against the school. Yeah. He was on Bryce's side legally. I mean, not friendship-wise. But no, that was absolutely heartbreaking.
Isn't that crazy though?
But that does feel like something, even maybe not Bryce's dad, but that a lawyer would do. You know, they're going to dig up any dirt they can to discredit the witness. But why would Tony ever think that would be an outcome?
Right.
And then for her to even tell him, this is probably why. That was, that gutted me. This is
probably why. What was the reason why she felt she had that information, though? I'm blanking on that.
I don't think I think when he told her about the family,
she probably put two and two together, right?
Her face seemed to change, and she kind of realized, oh my gosh, this is... And she said this could be why.
Could be, yeah.
And then he confronts Bryce.
Confront it, yes.
And Bryce confirms it.
Yeah. So I mean, it was a lot. But I did like they kind of rehatched and then kind of rekindled some things that, you know, that their friendship.
I did love her friendship with Tony.
I loved watching their friendship in past seasons, and it brought back a little bit of that. You know, they were together and drinking beer and all that stuff, and it was really nice that Hannah didn't really come up a lot in their conversation.
No.
Which was good though, because it was like, okay, what's going on now? You know what I mean? It wasn't a moment of like, let's more and more. It was a moment of let's live more. You know
and
what I
I
mean?
feel like Mrs. Baker and Tony had a different relationship than she did with the other ones. The other ones were about Hannah.
Yes.
They just seemed to genuinely be friends.
Right.
Even though they're like different ages, like they just seemed to actually be friends. Mm-hmm. And so it felt more like two friends reconnecting and catching up.
Yeah. I love that.
Which they said in the chat. Let's see. Debbie said Mr. Baker moved on so quick. I know, it's been a year and he's remarried. That means like quick. Dating, engaged, remarried very quickly. Let's see.
Well, it's like, you know, in the relationships, people, it's like those people that go on to relationship. They're trying to fill a void.
And a lot of people after divorce, they do get remarried very quickly. Yeah, very quickly. Interesting. Debbie said, what did you guys think about when Mrs. Baker's spitting truth at the sheriff? She came with fire. She did. Oh my goodness.
I loved that opening scene.
Yeah.
Yes, that was amazing.
And when she called him on the fact that, like, the kids know more and like they didn't, and that they're putting more effort into finding out who killed Bryce.
Yeah. Oh. Than they did for Hannah. I think that was that whole scene. She was reading him.
Yeah. Like 1,000%. Yeah.
And it's funny because like his character just annoys me anyway, but he always uses these tactics like to make them seem like they're guilty.
Yeah.
not even knowing what the whole situation is, which, you know, it's a good interrogator. But the whole, like, voicemail or the whole, like, calling and having Clay's phone records and all that stuff. And he's like, oh, you've talked to him for a minute and whatever. Yeah, I left the voicemail. So she just always had, like, a comeback. She was really quick.
She knew the questions that he was going to ask.
She knew it.
Yeah.
She's like, I have questions for you, though.
Right? No, I loved it.
That was amazing.
Ooh, chat is blowing up.
Go ahead. Come on, people.
Sarah says, oh my God, absolutely heartbreaking that Tony got his family ripped apart by ICE. Yes.
Yes.
Sarah says,
I hate Bryce's grandpa.
We all hate Bryce's grandpa.
He's just one of those people that just
guy.
never change, just stuck in his ways, senile, racist, and whatever Bryce said he was.
Nothing gonna change about that one. Oof.
I was hoping Bryce could grow as a person to see his redemption, but I love that Bryce stood up Tony and his mom from his grandpa and his dad. Yes.
Yeah, we kind of talked about that last episode too, that it's been interesting watching Bryce go through this process and try to, like, make amends with everybody. Yes. And even with Tony in this one, like, for him to go and tell him, I confirmed it and I'm so sorry, and, like, try to give him his car back, that whole thing, I was like, you would think he would go find out, but to come and actually tell Tony, yes, that was the reason.
Yes. That was a changed man, or changing man, I should say, or growing man. But before we get into more of Mrs. Baker and her relationships, Monica has a story for you.
Yes. I just want to say thank you guys so much for tuning in, jumping in on these chats, leaving us reviews on iTunes, all that good stuff. We could not do this without you. We absolutely love being a part of AfterBuzz TV, and you guys have made us the ESPN of TV talk. So to keep doing what we love and what you guys like watching, do us a favor. If you're watching right now on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. And if you're listening to us on iTunes, give us a 5-star rating. We're going to be reading through those. We're going to see if we can find some good ones and shout them out on the air next time, too. So go and leave us that review right now. Leave us 5 stars, and thank you.
Thanks, Monica. 5 stars, folks. Thumbs up.
Yes.
You know the drill. We love you. Thank you so much for being here. You guys are awesome in the chat.
Yeah, they're blowing it up.
And so we're going to talk about more of Mrs. Baker, her and Clay. So she's been trying to get in contact with Clay, calling him. He never returns her calls. They finally meet. How did you think that whole thing went?
I thought it was interesting that he wasn't returning her calls, especially because he is so involved in all of this.
Yes.
And he's trying to help everybody. You would think the first person he would try to help, well, no, not actually, because his big mission is to save people. Mm-hmm. And I think he has a lot of guilt that he didn't save Hannah.
Yeah.
And so talking to her mom is, like, a little bit too hard for him.
It definitely rehashes some feelings and some, emotions there. And it's like, can I really face her again? Yeah. You know what I mean?
But I'm glad they did, and they talked.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I don't know. I think that whole conversation was cool. It went down, like, at the end of the day, it was like, okay, we're moving forward, but also, I loved what she said. You need to protect yourself, and not your friends. And so when she told Clay about the situation with Tony, she wasn't necessarily saying, okay, I think Tony did it, but you need to talk to your friend.
Yeah, I think she's saying there's a lot of other, not to throw people under the bus, but like you said, protect yourself, and that there are other people that you can at least point a direction toward, even including herself. And she knows that.
Yes.
But just saying, don't try to protect everybody and take the fall when you didn't do it. And there's all these other people that look guilty too. Right.
And she was saying, like, I know I look suspect as hell.
Yeah.
I loved when she was saying, I'm not asking you to keep my secrets.
Yeah.
And because him and Tony, like, they just keep secrets, and they're just like everyone's secrets.
The gatekeepers.
They're the gatekeepers' secrets. So I really enjoyed that whole conversation. I want to see them grow more together, just because of the whole
Tony and Clay.
No, Clay and Mrs. Baker.
Yeah.
Just because, like, I feel like that whole after Hannah and all that, it hasn't really settled. and they haven't, especially Clay, he hasn't given it a chance to, especially like, ignoring her calls and doing all that. You know what I mean?
Well, we've talked about how he hasn't dealt with any of his own stuff.
He hasn't dealt with anything.
He immediately goes into protection mode for everybody else and has not let himself go through it.
Yes.
And I think Mrs. Baker sees that in him. And I think that's probably why he didn't want to talk to her. Like, he needs to let it out, and I feel like she's probably the closest person he could do it with.
Right.
She's kind of the mom he needs right now. The other one's like in lawyer mode, and this one is like, I actually understand your grief. And, you're being called guilty, I look guilty, all this stuff, but like, you got to protect yourself and go through all of this.
Right.
So I appreciate their relationship a lot, and I want to keep seeing it.
Yeah, I want to see it for sure. And so we get to Mrs. Baker and Bryce. That little. Okay, so we'll talk about Bryce finally listening to the tape shortly, but after that, he approaches Mrs. Baker. So it's so crazy. Like, can you imagine the feelings that go through him doing that? Just deciding to make that decision to approach the mother of like.
Well, he's thinking he's trying to make amends.
Yes,
and he's
of
trying
course.
to apologize to everybody. And that might make him feel better, but that does nothing for her.
Right.
And, it's one of those like selfish things where like, I need to apologize for my sake.
Right.
But I'm actually really hurting you by showing up.
Yes.
And I don't think he thought that one through.
Yeah, I don't think he did either.
I understand he's trying to make amends, but like, and you could see her just like shaking, like, that would be the worst.
That's crazy, right? Like, just that whole scene. I was so intrigued. I was sitting at the edge of my seat. Like, let us know what you thought about that scene, because I really want.
I know Debbie asked us what you thought, but I want to know what you guys think too. So leave us a message in the comments. Also, if this is your first time tuning in, we are watching this one episode at a time, so please no spoilers.
Please
don't let us know what you know if you were past episode 10.
Yes.
But let us know how you felt about that whole apology scene. Sarah says he went to Mrs. Baker, sincerely apologized for hurting Hannah. I believe so too. I think he had the right intention. I think he's trying to make amends, but it's still too. I mean, I don't know if it's too soon or it should just never happen.
It's just
maybe
you write
honestly,
a letter. You write a letter. That's what I was just gonna say. Like, you write a letter or something, but it was just or she will see you on her terms. That's the thing. Like, if she wants to talk to you, she goes to you on her terms.
It's also, he spent the entire trial saying he didn't do anything. So it's great that he's coming to terms now, but like, all she's going to see is the guy that stood at trial and tried to play it off. Like,
and got out of it because of the family he was born in.
Yeah.
Like she had mentioned earlier in an episode. So, that was hard. That was hard. And so I wrote down what she said. She's like, I wish you a lifetime of what sorry means. That's rough.
Yeah.
I mean, life didn't go too much longer for him, but I mean, that's rough.
To wish that on somebody.
Yeah.
And did he listen to the tapes after that, right?
He listened to the tapes before.
Before talking to her.
Yeah, that's what made him go.
Okay.
Yeah, he came there and he said, I listened to the tapes.
That's right. Okay.
Which I want to talk about next. So Bryce finally listens to the tapes. That means a lot.
That means
a lot.
Intense.
It's intense, yeah, because it's basically like you're finally ready to take on and to stand for what you did.
To accept the amount of hurt that you caused people.
Exactly. Yeah. Which I love Tony and his scene.
Yeah.
Outside the car shop. What did you think about that?
I thought it was interesting that he went with him. But like he said, I promised Hannah I would make sure everybody listened to the tapes, and that's what I'm going to do. Because he obviously hates this guy. He hates him so much. Yeah. And I think that there's something about Bryce finding out about his family that, as much as it hurt and as angry as he was, he has a little bit of respect for the fact that he came up and told him. Yeah. And that leads into the tapes. And then he also can start to see that Bryce is really trying to understand. And I think part of him probably wants him to hear it and hurt. Yeah. You know? It's like, I don't want to be here, but I want you to absolutely hurt listening to this.
Right. What I found very interesting is Tony made a point of saying, this is all your fault. Like...
Yeah, he said all the tapes are about you.
All the tapes are yours, first off, and then this is a domino effect of what you did.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
His family being deported, like everything, and so Bryce was like, I didn't know that, my dad, I swear I didn't know all that stuff, but this is your fault. Like, it all stems from what you did. And I thought that was very interesting because I didn't, it took me a minute to like kind of like it is. Oh, shit.
That's what I wrote down. Chain reaction.
Yeah, chain
point.
reaction.
Yeah.
I was like, and Tony really pointed that out. And all these tapes are yours.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And I was just watching that scene of him listening to those tapes. How did you feel that was gonna like make him? What did you think that Bryce was gonna do after that? Did you have
I don't know. I don't think I thought about what he was gonna do after that, but it was interesting to watch his emotional response to listening to it. And it was, he's trying to make amends, but in this moment, he's actually understanding how he hurt them and how he broke Hannah. And, that's a lot to take, and I commend him for accepting that he wanted to take it on, and he needed to. But yeah, great scene. And interesting how they did it, too, with, like, Tony in the car and him outside, and then him in the car and Tony outside. Like, it was really great.
They had to, you had to move around a little bit.
Yeah.
How long are those? Do you remember those cassette tapes? Like, how long are on both sides of those A and B?
90 minutes, I think.
90 minutes each? So they listened to 13 of those in that one night.
Yeah, that's probably not realistic. not that everything was full on the one side either,
yeah, I guess so.
Yeah,
but that's crazy.
Nothing he could have. Let's see. Gracian says nothing he could have done would have made her feel better. He hurt her daughter and got away with it. Yeah.
This is Ryan in the booth, by the way. Apparently, each side is 45 minutes.
45 minutes.
90
45
minutes total.
on each side. 90 minutes total. Okay.
Interesting.
Wow.
I had my 90 minutes though. I can't believe when you said that I was like 90 plus.
Hey,
I'm aging myself. You're like, hey, old lady, how long is a cassette tape?
I remember the. I know. I figured you might.
Oh no.
90 minutes. So that's like.
So an hour and a half times 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot. That's 1,170
I'm on it.
minutes.
He's on it.
1,170 minutes. So that's like 19 hours.
Yeah.
Right? Something like that.
Okay,
our producer's working on it.
I accidentally just opened the calendar instead of calculator. But I'm on it.
He's on it. So yeah, this is a long time.
13 divided, so 6.5 plus 13. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a long time.
It's a long time. They were listening to a lot, and to listen to them back to back.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
19 and a half hours.
19 and a half hours. Oh, I was close. Crazy.
That's wild. Yeah.
Wow. So something that took Clay days. They listened to one night. And so it was a lot for Bryce to...
That's intense.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's really intense to listen to.
And I'm sure that he realized why he wouldn't listen to them for so long. Because...
Oh, yeah.
To just face that is just difficult. Wow. That's crazy. So I found it was funny. I want to move to Jess and Justin. Jess says, I reject your request to break up.
So amazing.
I was like, what?
I loved it.
I've never heard of that before in my life.
I'm going to say that from now on and just be real creepy with everyone. I reject your request to break up with me.
Like, that a thing? We should make that a thing, y'all. Like, get dumped. I reject your request.
I love it. AfterBuzz put in the 19 and a half hours. Thank you. Did the math for us.
Thank you. Sarah that says, that would make me feel better if he went to the police to confess, but that didn't happen.
Yeah. It's great that he's trying to make amends, but yeah, he never...
Would you... that's a good question. Like, do you think that would make a difference right now?
No.
A year later?
No, I think at this point, everybody probably wants to move on.
Right.
Yeah. But...
he wouldn't get anything anyway.
No. He's actually probably going through more with his guilt.
Right.
Than he would have just being in prison. You know what I mean? Like, actually having to face everybody and make amends, I think he's doing his penance.
And he's never really said, like, I raped Hannah or I raped Jessica. Like, if you notice all the scenes where they're like, they talk about it or whatever, and he just has this moment where he's like, Like, he never really says it out loud.
Yeah. He says aggressive.
Yes.
Like when he's talking to Porter,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that he struggles to not be aggressive or push a girl down, but
Right.
like he never actually says like,
He never actually
I struggle not
says
raping
it.
people.
Right. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's an important step
yeah,
to any recovery. Like, you know, just you
Oh,
have
yeah.
to acknowledge and
it's like
say
saying
it
I drink
out loud.
a lot,
Right.
but not actually saying the word alcohol.
Right.
Like,
Like, I just drink, you know, morning, day, night. It's fine. It's totally fine.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, but it's been interesting to watch this process of going through all of this for sure.
Right.
Olivia said Jess is slaying the entire season. She really is.
Yes.
She
I love her character.
the biggest character arc
Right?
and the biggest changes and the biggest growth, and
Mhm.
it's been awesome to watch. So yeah, her with Justin was rejecting it.
a part of me like I wish Bryce was still alive. You know what I mean? I think it would make like an interesting like story as far as like just to see his growth, what happens with that, what happens with Mrs. Baker and him, like it's a lot of stuff.
I agree. It's like we see the middle process
Right.
with him.
And then bam, that was it.
Maybe we'll get to that. Somebody said, when will you do episode 13? Tomorrow.
So happy that
6,
you asked.
7, 8 o'clock, right?
Yes.
Pacific time. We're going to be doing
We're closing it out.
11, 12, and 13. So all tomorrow, so you can join us and binge watch with us, and we'll chat about the entire thing. So in the meantime, please no spoilers.
Yes.
Because tonight I get to go home and watch them all.
Right, and then the last episode tomorrow, we will no longer have a Whodunit, because we will know.
Who did
He did it. So, yeah, that's going to be fun. Ani and Love, we found out a little bit more about that in this episode, especially when Clay wanted to ask her to homecoming.
And I love
Clay
how she
always
wanted him
the slow
to.
tortoise.
I know, and she's very like, I've never been to a dance.
Right.
Wink, wink. Like, you can ask. I'll say yes.
Like, come on, Clay.
She's trying so hard to give him the hint.
The hints. I mean, you can drop everything in front of Clay, and he's just gonna go on his own pace.
I don't want to hurt you though. I don't want to scare you off.
You've already expressed that guys like Clay just not your cup of tea.
Or maybe it would work because I'd just be like, screw this. I'll do all the moves here. Like, it's fine.
Like, fine. I got it.
Be like Jess. I reject your tortoise moves. We're doing this.
Right. But so Annie was like, they say she's, anti-love. And I really do think, I hope we get to find out these next 3 episodes, because there's something that happened to her. I don't know if it was recently or in her past, but something, like you were saying yesterday, created this wall of like emotional connection.
She can shut it on and off.
Right.
Which is
scary at that age.
Yeah, it's scary anytime, but especially as a teenager, when she can turn off her emotions and just be physical and be who people want her to be. Like, there's something about it that's
just not right.
And I think because we're getting the backstory for even the bad characters, it's like, I want to know why she is the way she is. Like, I want to like all of these people, so I need to know why you're damaged.
Why you lie so much, why you're telling everyone else's business, and not like what.
Except Monty, I don't want to like him. But I still wanted answers as to why he was the way he was, and we're getting that.
We're getting it, for sure.
I definitely hope that we get that with Ani as well.
For sure. And Monty gets called into the office, which is another little interesting moment where he dismisses Bryce's death again, and grieving and all that. And I'm just like, I don't know.
There's something weird going on there.
He's failing 3 classes. He's, and so it's interesting because they keep throwing Monty in there. Just like, just keep tossing a little bit of him in there. So I'm like,
even when it's not about him in the episode.
Even when
it's just a blip.
Nothing to do with him.
Going on.
So it's just interesting. Yeah. But I do want to get into that scene with Clay, when Clay finally goes up to the hill, on the top of the hill, and wants to ask, what do you think about that
I was
scene?
so mad.
Yeah.
I was so mad because here we are seeing all of these redemptive moments from Bryce.
Mm-hmm.
And there was jerk Bryce again.
Yeah.
Like, he went straight back into that bully. I was so angry at that whole scene. And I get that they don't like each other, but like he's trying to be a better person. And I don't know if he just like reverted back to who he used to be, but
I think it was a lot that had to do with like jealousy.
Totally.
Because,
claiming territory too.
Yeah, claiming territory. Yeah. We've seen in the past episodes like Ani and his relationship. They gotten really close. He confides in her. Like it's just he's really on another level with Ani right now. And he's like, you're showing up in flowers trying to get my girl. What?
It's probably some anger too because he can't take her to a dance.
Of course,
he can't do any. He can't even publicly be with her.
Right.
And here comes Clay getting to do all the high school stuff that he doesn't get to do.
Yes, and he's like that forbidden fruit.
Yeah. Still didn't like his reaction.
Yeah, that was a lot though.
Yeah.
And then the whole F your girl like type thing, like what? Did you have to really say that?
Right? Yeah.
Like you said, it was a piece of his past coming back.
Which I guess is a good thing to see because I don't want to get so wrapped up in like Bryce is actually a great guy and like, you know, we kind of dismiss everything he actually did, which is terrible. You know, so to see those moments are good too because he is changing. It's not like we're 20 years ahead and he's a changed guy. Like he's going to have these things that pull him back into being a bully and being a jerk and
that entitlement that he still has. You know, it's just.
But you're right. It definitely was a jealousy and a territory thing.
Yeah.
But.
And then we see that's actually when Nora heard him say, "I'm gonna kill you." Not when the gun part. Yeah. So, which was interesting. I was like, oh, so it's multiple occasions. So
he's threatened his life a few times. And we wonder why he's a person of interest.
Right.
Fair enough.
So she's standing outside. She heard the whole thing. That's when he actually touched the car. That's where his fingerprints are now. So everything's like kind of, you know, coming together.
Tying it up.
Tying together a little bit. But yeah, that was I think the most aggressive we've seen Clay be towards Bryce, right? At that moment.
Well, I think pulling a gun on him was probably a little bit more aggressive.
True. But without the gun aspect. Like that. Yeah. Cause like just the forcefulness in the door and like all that, I was like, You
can see that like the moment when he pulled the gun and everything after, there's like a level of hate and anger that he hasn't dealt with that's coming out in those moments. And so you're seeing Clay break a little bit.
Yes.
So.
Did he break all the way? No, I was going to say that.
That'd be so weird. Can you imagine if it was wrapped up with that? I'd be like, but then imagine? Why was he certain? Like,
that would be so crazy. Like, he would literally be a
he's
psychopath.
Crazy.
He's just like
he doesn't remember doing it.
Right.
Ooh, what a twist.
He blanked out. Like it just happened.
Could be.
So I want to finish with Nora and Olivia meet. I love that they did this too. Two grieving mothers meeting, putting aside all the drama, the turmoil, all that stuff, and just coming together as mothers. What do you think about that?
I think it's like what we talked about with episode 6, where Nora gets up and talks about how every mom sees their child as a kid. And I think that Mrs. Baker recognizes that. Like, she can hate her, but also feel bad for her.
Right.
And I think it's that. It's like, I hate you in a way, and I'm never going to like you, but we also understand a grief that nobody around us does.
Right.
So I thought it was such a great moment and probably healing for both of them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And Nora was able to, tell Olivia some things that she's been on her mind. And, it was really a nice, touching moment to, like, bring these two characters together. And Nora did, make a point. She's like, well, my son was killed. He didn't, meaning like he didn't kill himself. So someone needs to pay.
Yeah.
Which is true. I do get it.
Yeah,
but, yeah. I want to see more of that. I want to see like where that goes. I don't know. Is this gonna be the last time we see Mrs. Baker, or I don't know.
Well, she has to come in the next episode too, just because of the whole voicemail thing.
Voicemail is gonna come out.
It ends.
Right.
Like,
that's
and they
how
take
it ends.
Clay's phone that
the
has
police
the
order. I mean the judge order, right?
Yeah. Which, why would you not delete the voicemail? That's my question. But yeah, so in this voicemail she's saying, I want Bryce dead, and she's drunk.
I want Bryce dead.
Yeah. It doesn't look
She's
good
drunk. She's at Hannah's
grave,
grave. I mean, I get it.
But also delete
the voicemail. Why are you holding on to that? And then why do you let Ani listen to it? I mean,
that I was not okay with.
I did not enjoy that either. I was like she's a liar. Like she's like, why are you even letting her listen to it?
And also, that's not hers to know anyway. Even if you played it for Tony, like
it's no one's.
That's nobody's but the two of them.
Right.
So I didn't like that either.
So there's some things that Clay do that I'm just like, or Clay does, and I'm just like, I don't know what you're doing. But what do they say in Grassy and Ryan? I hate the tired story where the gay guy falls for his abuser in shows, meaning the Monty and Winston. It's overused, especially in coming out storylines. Huh.
Yeah, that would be a really. I mean,
interesting.
It's like I do think it's probably Monty at this point, but
you and I are kind of stuck on Monty at the moment.
Yeah. But that would be, I agree with that storyline's been done a few times.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I do think that whole Winston thing's going to come back up in the next three episodes.
I think there's so much anger there that that's going to come up somehow.
That's definitely going to come up.
Somebody said Amy says, I wanted them to question Mr. Baker too. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, why didn't they bring him in?
Crazy. Clay's not the brightest bulb. He's also a few sandwiches short of a picnic. He gets so over, like, when he falls for these girls, it's like there's no filter with him.
Yeah.
It's like you're looking at everybody except the person closest to you.
Right.
Like, why? I don't know.
It's interesting. Yeah. I don't know. But Grayson, I wanted them to. No, say you did that already. There was one I just saw here.
I love the side of Mrs. Baker.
Yes.
Agreed.
Yes.
Because it was the combination of anger and grief.
Yes.
And also, and not in anger and grief at the cops, anger and grief at the mother, at Bryce, like all the different aspects of it. It was really interesting to see. I love this episode. This was like one of my favorite episodes in this season. Just seeing that, because it was like, okay, like how is life, you know, and just seeing her come back and deal with all that. It was amazing. Yeah.
Well, do you have any more anything else to say about the episode?
I do want to point out.
Please do.
This show deals with a lot of really, really big issues. And 13reasonswhy.info has a lot of great resources. So if you or somebody that you know is struggling with grief, abuse, depression, anxiety, any of these heavy topics that they go through here, they have really good resources. 13reasonswhy.info. There's videos from the actors talking about different issues. And they also have a crisis text line, and you can text the word REASON, REASON, to 741-741. And there are people there that will listen and care, and we care as well. So please, you don't have to go through this alone. These are heavy topics, and you should talk to people about them.
Yes, please do. And we thank you so much for joining us in the comments.
Yes.
And just keeping up and watching us and joining in this conversation. We covered a lot today. Yeah. A lot yesterday. And we got a lot more to cover tomorrow. So please make sure you tune in. We're going on to our special segment of Whodunit.
Whodunit. All right. So every episode we go through who we think killed Bryce based on that episode. And again, we have not watched any further, so please no spoilers. This is just based on this episode.
Yes.
Who do you think did it? Do you think it was Mrs. Baker?
No, I didn't buy it once. I didn't buy it at all. Yeah. I'm still going with Monty.
Yeah?
There was nothing that really changed my mind from this.
I did have something that changed my mind.
Oh, did you? Okay.
I'm still 90% Monty, but the whole bloody tape with Jess, I think it's Bryce's tape now that he's listened to them. Because in this episode, he goes through and listens to the tape. She has a bloody one.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with Jess based on this one.
All right.
Yep.
He did listen to them.
Just to mix it up.
Did he keep them is the question.
If you haven't watched any further, leave us a comment. If you have,
yes.
Lock it up.
Lock it up.
We'll get there tomorrow.
Perfect. All right. And do we have any news and gossip today?
So we do. This was really interesting. So there were some headlines floating around that Netflix was planning on starting to release shows one at a time, weekly. And I don't know how you guys feel about that, but it kind of takes away from the whole binge watching thing. Yes. So leave us a comment. Let us know what you think about that. But I did find on Forbes.com, they said that this idea is particularly timely given that Disney Plus has now confirmed that it will be airing episodes weekly. But as it turns out, this is not really what's happening at all. So the ones that they're going to be doing weekly are some of the competition shows because they don't want to spoil who wins them, but they will still be doing some as binge as far as we know now. So they did put that out there, but a little bit of back and forth on what it's going to mean for the future of Netflix. So leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. Do you want them one at a time weekly so that you can be surprised each week and have something to look forward to? Or are you a fan of just sitting down and binge watching them?
Right. Yeah, I don't think that'll do too well. I mean, we're in the age of everything right here, right now, and we want it. But then also, if you don't want that, you can watch primetime TV. So
yeah, and I will say that they do talk about in the article that they don't think Game of Thrones would have been as successful to binge.
Oh, no.
Because there's something about it coming out one at a time where everyone rallied around it and had parties each week, and it was a whole thing, and they kind of miss out on that when they do the binge watching too. So I see both sides.
Shows like that, like there's certain shows that just should be on prime TV, like you just weekly. But there are also some shows that on Netflix are just like it's meant to just binge.
I think there's so much covered in 13 Reasons Why that it would be difficult for a week to go by. Sometimes like a day goes by before we do these shows, and I'm like, wait, what happened? Like there's so much crammed into one episode that when you can binge watch them, you keep up with everything.
Right.
I don't know.
It would be interesting.
I'd still watch.
I'm not a huge binger. Like I do like anticipating, like waiting.
Ooh.
It is fun to me, but who knows?
Lots of stuff going on in the chat. I prefer
Euphoria.
binging.
I do love Euphoria.
I prefer binging, but I won't mind. Prefer binging, hate waiting on TV shows. All right, I think we are definitely going more toward the binging. So hopefully they keep 13 Reasons Why as a binge show. But either way, I think we will all be watching.
Yes, and you should be watching tomorrow because we'll be back to discuss 11, 12, and 13.
Woo!
Finally going to find out who did it. We're going to have a full panel with Monica, myself, and Shay. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Monica, see us out.
Yes, thank you guys for tuning in. You can find me all across social media at Monica Goes Show. Come leave me some comments, and I'll be checking in on the chat on you guys, too.
Yes, and you can find me everywhere at I Am Danny Royce. Also Monday nights on the Terror After Show. Tune in tomorrow. We'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.